Welcome to this 13th tutorial of Infor LN Technical Training Session. In this video, we will be going over a concept of Infor LN which many of us are very interested to learn and know. So this video will be all about session, so Infor LN session. So when you hear about session, every time a form comes into your mind, like a user interface. So Infor LN session is nothing but a way a user can interact with your application. So basically it's a kind of form. You can call it as a form or a session. So say your Infor LN is an application, right? So in order to access the data from the database, or to print the data, or to insert the data into the database, there is a simple way where the user can interact with a user interface, which is what we call as a session. So as you can see in this diagram, session sits between the user and B-shell. So since this is a technical training, you should understand the architecture, like how a session interacts with ERP-LN application. So when a user is opening up a session to interact with the application, every session has its own 4GL engine. So this 4GL engine or your session, it interacts with the B shell, and then the B shell will take care of communicating with your database or whatever other applications are connected to Infor LN. So this basic diagram shows you like how a user interacts with the session and then the session interacts with the B shell. So when talking about sessions, there could be several different types of sessions which we can build in Infor LN depending upon the requirement. So the first type of session, which is most common, is called as maintain session. So maintain session is a session which is used to maintain the data. As the name says, maintaining the data, that means inserting the records in the table, or displaying the data from the table, or deleting the records from the table, or updating the records from the table. So whatever read, write, or display, print activities are there, you can do it all in the maintain session. So basically a maintain session will be used when a user wants to insert the data in a particular table. The next is update session. So update session is basically used when, say, you have to update a particular table or run a process which will be updating certain one or two or multiple tables. So update session will be used according to that. The next is print session. So print session is like a report session, right? Where your user can print the data from the table using a user interface form. So print session is basically used for creating reports or reporting sessions where a user can provide the range, and based on that he can print the data from the database using this type of session. The next is a display session. So sometimes we have to limit the access to the data for the users. In order to do that, we can just build a display session where a user can open that session and he can just view the information or view the records from the table. He cannot manipulate or delete or do any sorts of activities with that data. He can just, that data will be just visible to him. Okay. So that is about the display session. The next is update plus print. So sometimes you have to create a processing session where you are updating like several tables or just one table, and then after updating that table you have to print a report, like which table, which records from this table were updated. So in order to do that, you can use this type of session, which is called as update plus print session. The other two, which are called as graph and conversion, they are not usually used. But yeah, we in future will also cover these two types of sessions. But for now, just focus upon the first five type of session. Now, when it comes to LN and its components, there is always a naming convention used. Either it is Infor LN or SCP or any kind of application. Every component of an application has to have a naming convention, that is a standard which is used to name the components. So for session also we have a certain set of rules which we use to name the session. Now when you are going to identify the session, it won't be using the session name. So the identifier of a session will be called as session code. So say you have to access sales order data. So in order to do that, you are not going to run like session, you are not going to find that using like sales order data, you have to do that. But instead, you are going to identify the session by its code. So say for sales order, it's going to be TDSLS 4100M000. To find purchase order, you have to go to TDPUR 4100M000 and likewise. So these are called as session codes. Now these session codes have a certain naming convention. How that is built is using the following, whatever you are seeing on the screen. So the first two characters of your code will be the package code. So there are certain packages in Infor LN like TC, which is for common, then TD, which is for distribution, TI, and TF, which is for financials, etc. So the first two characters will be the package code. The next three characters will be the module code. Modules are like TCMCS, then TCIBD, TCCOM. So these are the modules. Okay. So the rest of the characters, these are very important when it comes to naming conventions. So these basically define like which tables are you focusing on. So let's instead of going through this, let's just take an example of the table which we created in our last tutorial. So if you have not seen that, you can just go ahead and check that video as well. So we have created a new table called as TCIBD 998 and we named it as item data. So let's see like how if we create a maintain session for that table, how it will be named. So the first part is TC because the table code starts with TC and it belongs to TC package. The second part will be the module code. Now our table has module as IBD, so we will be using as IBD. Next, the table name is 998, that is the table code. So the part 3 will be like 9x98m000. Here, X will define which type of session you are going to build. So, if you use as TCIBD 9198M000, it will be a maintenance session. When you are going to create a maintenance session, you have to use the second character as 1. If you are going to create an update session, you are going to use 2. For print, you are going to use 3 or 4, sorry. And for display, you are going to use 5. Now, in this video we'll be focusing on creating a maintain session, right? So let's see, like for maintain session, the code will be TCIBD 9198 and 000. Now, without wasting further time, let's go ahead and start with creating the simple maintain session for the table we created in the last video. So if you remember, this was the table we created. The table was TCIVD 998 and it had two fields. Two fields were my item and my description. So now we are asked by the business to create a simple maintain session where a user can insert the data into this table and also view the data and delete the data or update the data. So that is what we are going to create now, a maintain session which will be having this table, which will be using this table, and let's go. So in order to build sessions in Infor LN, you have to go to tools, then application development, sessions, and then sessions. The session code will be TTADB2500M000. So once you double click on this, you will basically see this type of session opened up in your screen. Now to create a new session, you have to click on this new button. Once you do that, you'll get this empty box where you have to fill up the values. So if you can see, we have given the module as IDD, the session code as 9198M000, and when you tap through that, it will automatically fill up these two fields, which are program script and main table. So you can see that the program script code it automatically generates for you, and it also identifies that which is the underlying table. Now how does it do that? Because you have followed the correct instruction, correct naming convention when you are naming that session, it identifies that which table you are going to use. So if you have given something like TCIBD 9197 M000, the main table would have been TCIBD 997. So that is how it works. That is why you need naming convention when you do any sort of development in LM. Talking about other things, there are certain other things like start command type and start command, session status, etc. Dynamic session integrated and session type, window type. So all these things we are going to see in details, but for now, let's keep that default, and now you can hit on the save button. Okay, and once you hit on the save button, just close this form. Once you close it, you can now see that your session has been created. Now what? Once you create the session, are you going to run it directly? Let's see what happens if you run it directly. So to run a session, you have to use this button. Now, if you run this session, you'll get this error. What is this? It is error saying empty dynamic form. So when you are building a session, the structure or the user interface is not automatically defined. Okay, so what are the fields which you are going to see on the form, and what are their properties, what are their attributes, what are the field names, what are the domains, etc. All you have to define, and you have to generate the structure using dynamic form. So in LN we call it as DFE, which is also called as dynamic form editor. So in order to create a session, you have to use DFE to design the session. So this is for the designing of your form. So you click on OK and then go to this button. This button will start up your dynamic form editor. So this is how it looks, your dynamic form editor. Here you are going to add your fields, whatever fields you are you require. There could be form fields, or there could be labels, or there could be table fields. For this tutorial, we are just going to use the same table fields, whatever we have in the table. And to do that, you can just go ahead and click on Insert button and select all table fields. So once you do that, it will automatically add all the table fields you have in this particular table. In our case, we have two fields, and it automatically added those two fields. Now, without further wasting any time, we are not going to play with any field right now. We are just going to create a simple session. So now you can save and exit from this using this button, and once you are back on your screen, you have to compile the session. So this second button is used for compiling your session. So once you compile your session, you can now run your session, and tada, your session is created successfully. So this is how it works. I mean, it's not a big deal to create a new session. It's not hard. It's very easy, very simple. You just have to follow the proper naming convention. You have to use proper, you have to consider proper session type which you are going to use. In our case, we are just going to insert records into the table, delete the records from the table, access the table records, that's it. And that's why we created this type of session. So in the coming tutorial, we will just follow these session details, and we'll learn like what are the other types of sessions and how we can build them. So for now, that is it. I hope you are staying at your home, taking care of yourself and your families. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay at home. Bye.